Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems, home entertainment systems, home automation systems, home security systems. Let VFL J.J. Surlis, a former teammate of Sterling Hinton and Mike Stowell, and boy, he told me bad stories about both of those guys. Safety Systems, he does a great job. His whole team does a great job in terms of protecting your home and modernizing your home. Control everything from your smartphone or tablet, and they will make it easy and user-friendly to do so. SafeTSystems.com to learn more. Okay, all right, it's time for our huddle segment, and what we do here is I throw it over. We'll let the VFLs handle the whole thing. The question I have for them today is, it's not a question. I'm just asking them to compare where this Tennessee team is at 4-1 versus their preseason expectations. Again, after a loss, it's like, well, this team's going to stink. This season's over. How far off is Tennessee from where people thought they would be, and do these guys still have some hope? Let's go over to the VFL table and see what they got to say. Will Overstreet, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, John. I think I have to start with you, Stowell, because very critical about the offensive line early on, even in the Virginia game where everybody thought glass color, rose glasses were on, going to win a national championship. Based on what you've seen so far, where they are, is this where this team you expected them to be, or are they off?
Well, I think it's clear that having Cooper back helps. And I will go back and say I was right about the offensive line at the beginning of the season, saying that they weren't doing that great. Everybody else disagrees. I'm just saying I'm right again. I'm getting my nudges in while I can. So I think, 4-1 is not too far off of where they're at, but it's the product that we've seen over time is just it's not I feel good about 4-1 because of what Florida did yesterday, right?
Right.
So then you're going like, oh gosh, that's not exactly what I'd hoped for, but fairly close.
Okay. Marlon, how about for yourself?
See, I had them 5-0 going into right now. I knew we'd probably lose one a little bit later on, but I thought there'll be more of like a A&M down the line. But then also he had Alabama, Georgia is going to be a good one for us. I didn't have us losing at Florida just because what Florida was coming back to, new starting quarterback, a lot of things lost off that roster. So that one right there was a surprise for me. But I'm with Stowell a little bit. It looks like they're kind of starting to get their rhythm going a little bit as we're picking up.
So basically, if you went out and you said this team beat Texas A&M, then you'd say, okay, probably where I thought they would be.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't think they'd lose to Florida. I guess for me, when I look at it, I agree with you guys. I think the one thing is I thought this team would be a little bit better. I still thought the 8-4, 9-3 was kind of the reasonable range. But I've looked at this SEC, so I think our team's a little bit less. But I look around the SEC and I go, well, there's nobody that gives me the fear where we're going to get blown out by that team. So I think the mix may be different of where I thought a win was going to come from or a loss was going to come from. But in general, when you mix the bag right now, you kind of go, well, it's probably where I thought it was going to be based on who they're going to have to play in the series against this year and where they're sitting at. But I don't know, more thoughts on what you've seen.
Yeah, and again, I think it's like, you don't get warm and fuzzy from the Austin Peay performance. Virginia, it's too early. Oh, we're pretty good, but then you see what Virginia is. So I think, it's football, right? And I think this year more with the SEC, you just don't know what you're going to get week to week because it's just, somebody's up, somebody's down. Who'd have thought that Kentucky would have run for, 500 yards and ATN didn't. I think he rushed for like 29 yards. So it's just the samples that we have seen. There's just not that one that says, man, they're just dominant all the way, right? And usually you'll have one or two teams in the SEC like that. So it's a toss up. But who does come out here? What does Tennessee do? How do they play on the road? So there's still a lot of things to be figured out. But it's just not consistent, crisp, based off of what I saw in the Orange Bowl.
I think if we consistently get better on the offense, I believe in our defense. Let's get some guys back healthy. I think you can see us kind of pick up some of those wins down there that we may have had marked down as a loss. I think if you can contain Brock Bowers, the rest of that Georgia squad, of course they got a running game, but it didn't look like Georgia of old. So if we can continue to score the football, figure us out on the offensive side, that game may be a good game for us, and it's in Neyland, so that's a big deal.
That's a big advantage. Well, at least I guess I can say this, John, we're not LSU because I can guarantee that fan base and the people talking about them, they're off there where they were supposed to be this year. Back to you.
Absolutely. They are not where everybody expected, and that's another example of how you don't know what you're going to get week to week. The genius Lane Kiffin put up 10 points in Alabama last week. This week, he puts up 55 points and 700 yards on LSU. Week to week, you just don't know what you're going to get, which renders this whole show kind of moot. So when you come back in the next segment, we're going to be talking about will they or won't they? Tennessee versus Texas A&M. It's our little way of comparing these two teams, which statistically speaking, they are very similar in all the SEC ranks in just about every category. We'll discuss that next. Come on back on the Sports.